All right, 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 all right. So when we talk about like my origin story, so it's like, who are you? So in this sequence, in this email sequence, when you have a big list of emails and you're trying to connect with them and warm them up again, so there's this email sequence that kind of goes through those points. So we're gonna go through that on these podcasts, and I may do all of it in this one or do them in different episodes, and that way people can get the long form of me. But I'm feeling this. You guys are gonna listen. You guys are gonna hear me regardless. So you guys are gonna know what type of person I am and who I am and what I came up in. So let's start this off. So for first off, my you're gonna know a little bit about me off of this. So my birth name is George Michael Williams III. And what I am is Jamaican. You can probably tell from those names because, a name like George is never really necessarily given more than it's passed down. So you'll get it from your father, your grandfather, or your uncle, mostly. So, that's me. Why is my name Major Dream Williams? Well, uh, simply put, I am a freedom strategist. I am someone who is very well read, very like alert, woke even. Like the idea of woke is things that I've learned, me being very young, growing up in the South Bronx. I come from Jamaican immigrant parents. My father died though. See, so my mother and father met in high school. Where was it? Taft High School in the Bronx. And, my father was the man. He was a Rasta. He had his whole crew at that point, and then some, was bringing up more. And he met my mother. My mother, another Jamaican woman, beautiful, very Nubian look, beautiful cheekbones, beautiful full teeth. She just was on that vibe. And I know back at that point in the 70s and 80s, I mean, if you think of like the movies that were going on around at that time, like Sidney Poitier and To Serve with Love. Remember, my mother came from kind of that era. So in the UK, folks, I think they call that the Windrush and stuff, like when they hit Jamaica. So like my grandfather used to drive, my mother's father used to drive for the Queen. So they came from a little bit more of status. But she was a good Christian girl nonetheless, and met my father, who was a rude boy, bad boy, young, a yardie, but he was a Rasta, and he was the leader of the Rastas, So my mother fit that beautiful Nubian queen image that he wanted, and they got together and had me. And then my brother was born, but we fast forward. I'm not gonna drag you all on through that. That's for something else. But they had me. I'm firstborn, so I'm kind of the Simba of my family. My father being Mufasa, and I use those analogies because Mufasa dies, as my father did. So he died and I was 4 or 5 years old when he passed away. The saddest thing about it is that I understood why he died. I understood the life he was in. I understood by that point what was going on, what I was born into. I enjoyed it. I bigged it up, but it still wasn't really my life. I was Simba. I wasn't, they did all of this, so I didn't have to do all of that, And then my father dies. The business goes on to my father's family. They turn it into $1 billion business. My mother, though, was never really about that life per se. She just loved my father. So she was a very humble woman, and she stayed in the South Bronx. She lived in the South Bronx until she died. And that's where I grew up. And we grew up very, very happy. We were very happy. My mother, God bless her, because by this time she had my brother as well. So it's two boys my mother is now has to raise in the South Bronx. And she hadn't gone to college yet. So now she got pregnant, her love of her life dies, leaves her stranded pretty much in the South Bronx. Now, there's no stranded, but she feels that because she's prideful. So she's not going to try to run up under my father's family. She's going to make her own way. And plus, her mother and father were here as well. So that saying that it takes a village to raise a child is very true. It's very true, because that's how we were raised, man. It was all hands on deck. Cousins, aunts, friends, neighbors, they all watched us grow. They all watched us grow, and they all loved my mother. And the thing was that I didn't realize how much my mother was like a made woman, because she didn't even play that role. And look, just for intents and purposes, just so you guys can understand, I grew up in a Jamaican version of The Sopranos, mixed with a little Gossip Girl. And then we throw that into the mix of hip hop, because that was the other thing that raised me. Hip hop. And that was something that, Jamaicans didn't want to get involved in, even though Kool Herc, being the father of hip hop, one of the pioneers, one of the men, if not the man, credited with inventing hip hop, what is now hip hop, a Jamaican. And I wanted in on that. I would stand at my windowsill, sit in front of the windowsill behind the gates, the security gates, looking outside at everybody playing, and then all my friends would laugh at me, be like, yeah, you're in jail, you can't go out. Like, my mother was really strict, because, again, she wanted to keep her boys safe. Two boys, and not just two regular normal boys. It's us. And so at that time, we were same. And I was just getting things going. I was awkward. I was chubby. I was, I talk with a weird accent. People didn't really understand me. I dress different. I talk different. I eat different things. And all I wanted to do was be involved. All the compatriots, all my boys and friends on the block, they would go down south for the summer, driving. We'd fly to Jamaica a couple of times a year. Well, my baby, like 3, 4, 5 times a year sometimes. And that right there was like, oh, we're going to Jamaica again. I want to go down south with what they're doing. It was always the grass is always greener type of vibe. And with that right there was pretty much how it went, until I was old enough to start going outside and being involved in hip hop. For me, that was that's all I wanted to be. I just wanted to get involved. I liked the women that were involved in it. I liked everything that was in what that hip hop was about. I liked it all, and especially the dancing, and especially the women, for me, because that was something I was easily kind of groomed for, so to speak, because when my father died, his friend group was all I had that now are all my uncles. So by the time he died, he had brought up over 100 people from Jamaica within his organization. So we were set in that case, in that sense. But my mother wasn't trying to put her sons in that life, because she saw how it turned out for my father. So, we fast forward, and now, I'm a little bit older, on the block doing all the things. And the one thing that gets me out of this neighborhood and this trajectory that I was possibly on was basketball. So I started to play basketball, and it started out with friends outside, and then, as well as being on the tennis team, the chess team, the debate team, The did I do swimming? Um, I was on the volleyball team. The track team. I was an athlete, and that was the only thing that like brought up the level. Because other than that, I was just bullied. I was picked on and bullied. I fought all the time just because, again, I was different. So, but what it was able to make me do was figure things out, and ultimately I started to win. I started to beat other people up. I started to fight back. I started to find my voice. And ultimately, my claim to fame in the hood, one of them at least, is I beat up Eddie. I beat up the block bully. And that right there was, if there's one thing that you can do in the hood that gives you great favor, is take out a threat. If you take out a threat that's messing with everyone else, come on, man. You hear Biggie say it. Now they my crew. So, but I didn't really have time to like deal with a crew because now I'm playing basketball. So, boom, I hit Harlem. Now, the South Bronx is something, right? Fat Joe, Remy Ma is from the Bronx. Fat Joe is from the Bronx. Cardi B is from the Bronx. Lil TJ is from the Bronx. Don Q. Like, there's so many, and obviously KRS-One, right? So that was a thing that I was really on. So now, boom, I'm playing basketball, and now I'm in Harlem. And that's when my whole world opens up. Because Harlem is different than the Bronx. The Bronx overall, we got the Jamaicans uptown, and then we got African Americans and Puerto Ricans everywhere. And they're grimy, kind of, they're wild. But then when you get to Harlem, that's where all the fly shit is. That's where all the fly niggas is at. Like, that's where you kick real game. And I had game. I had game. I was a little fly kid. I was a little brat, at the end of the day. But when I got to Harlem, that's when everything changed. And this is at a good time too, because, Puffy is starting to Bad Boy or Uptown is coming out, Mary J. Blige, Jodeci. Puffy is now starting to do Bad Boy. You got Craig Mack, Big. You had all of these things going on, all of this music going on, that I grew into, and my best friends at that time who I played basketball with happened to be two up and coming rappers, kids who wanted to rap. One, his name was Mace, the other's name was Cameron. And, so just all the energy and stuff that was in Harlem I was all up for it. I was like, bring it on. And it was welcomed. They brought me right in. And, played basketball. And that took me out. I mean, that helped me solidify myself in the city. I became an all-city basketball player. I became an all-state basketball player. And you get that honorable mention thing. But nobody in New York cares about being all-state. Or, all-American is cool. But it's really about the city. Once you get that all-city moniker, you're forever in the basketball fraternity. And that right there is something that I still ride on to this day. So that's why I never was trying to pledge in fraternities or be a part of any organization, which, has its ups and downs of good and bad. But I'm Jamaican, so that's one big organization. And I'm a New York City basketball player. That's another organization. Okay, so that for me is good enough. I'll build my own and bring you into it. But with that, so I leave New York as I graduate high school, and I end up in Nebraska. I mean, literally, I went from concrete to cornfields to play basketball. I cried every day being out there. But that's where I got my scholarship. That's where I needed to go play. And that is where my heart started to really melt. Because you get this, growing up in the Bronx, New York, we're hard, we're tough. You say one thing, we'll come at your neck. That's one of the reasons why, we can understand Trump. I've known Trump all my life. So it's not like, oh, Trump. I mean, he's New Yorker. So I see the New York in it, and that's something that we can't deny. So that was something that I needed to start to deal with, and found myself out in Nebraska, loving life, but also doing some grimy New York shit on some like grimy New York dirt bags, steal. You know what I mean? Like not even stealing, just some scams, running scam, pop, 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 pop. Man, listen. I realize this. No matter what, nobody likes a bully. I don't like to feel I'm bullying people. I don't like to feel that I am doing anything other than what I'm supposed to be doing from the goodness of my heart. So once I realized that, oh, these people here in Middle America have no clue what I'm doing. They have no clue what's going on. And that's not fair. So I stopped. I literally started to, empathy kicked in. And I started to just be better and really just observe them. Because, you have to understand, like, we grow up in a place where we don't have to trust anyone. Like trust? No, I don't trust you. Fuck you. Like, the people that you trust are your boys, right? Because all of y'all come up in a struggle. But guess what? You trust them until you don't trust them anymore, because now something happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's grimy. Like, you don't know. So now I'm out there doing the same grimy shit. But realize, bro, you're being a bully. It's like stealing candy from a baby. And that's not fun. So I started to act better and became a better person and embraced Nebraska. Because, it's mostly, at least when I was out there, all white. Legs calling. It's all white. And then it's like, after that, wait, hold up, let me answer this. Crazy Legs. Hey, yo, Legs, what's good, man? Hey, before it's anything, I'm filming a podcast right now.
Oh shit! All right. I was gonna patch you into a call.
What's up? Talk to me.
The Somos conference.
Somos?
Conference that's happening in November in Puerto Rico.
Oh snap!
It's a political thing. There's gonna be the first time it's gonna be a conference where they're gonna have a panel on weed in Puerto Rico, legalization, do's and don'ts, what to learn, what to know, shit like that.
Oh wow!
You want what time are you done?
I'll be done with this in about an hour.
All right.
All right, bet. Yeah, okay, I had to do that. A little name drop. I mean, my thing is this, B. I am an insider. Like I told you, I'm from the Bronx. My friends are hip hop royalty, and I am just wanted to let y'all know a little bit about me. So I didn't plan for that, but that lets you see that I'm really from the Bronx and I really come from something. And I also am a real advocate of just change and development and human advancement and just being in a different place. I learned a long time ago that you have 3 jobs in life. This is one of the things that my father used to tell me. That's how far back this goes, because my grandfather used to tell him this. You have 3 jobs in life. Be happy, don't hurt anybody, and move the culture forward. I kind of tweaked that a little bit, but there's definitely wasn't about don't hurt anybody. Oh man, they were aggressive people. But the thing is that Nebraska, being around all of those, and remember, from New York, but New York's is a melting pot, but you have your sections that you're in. I'd never been around like all of those white people that, and I got a chance to watch them and realize how much they trusted each other. the fact that keys were left in the car overnight and the front door was left wide open. These are the type of things that I was just like, wow. Mine was just blown, like full on, full on. So, but the one thing, and the thing, basketball was good out there. I even got one of my high school teammates a scholarship. And he came out there to come play ball with me. And funny enough, he still lives in Nebraska. That's how traumatizing the Bronx is. When you find peace, you just stay there and you just go for it. So I, on the other hand, am a little bit more of an adventurer. But the one thing that made me decide to leave Nebraska after that year was the simple fact that Nebraska has no trees. And there's a thing called tornadoes. Sorry. There's a thing called tornadoes. And there's a place called Tornado Alley. And it happens to be in Nebraska and Kansas. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, one of those things happened. So it was after spring break. There was a 90-degree Saturday. By that next Saturday, it was 3 feet of snow. During that week, the sky turned green. There was hail, and we had a twister. I was like, I'm out of here. And that was it for me in Nebraska. Then I went to school in Arizona for a year. That was pretty fun. I got a chance to really grasp and understand what the hell Arizona is. Because at this point, I just thought it was the desert. But I realized it's a high desert. And because there's snow out there, there's frost out there, there was all sorts of stuff. And then there was me out there. And me out there, whew, I come out again. I'm the New York kid, I'm hip hop. So as I'm sitting around, people obviously know I'm not from there. So I'm different. So I attract energy, I attract people. One person that came up to me happened to be this little young buck named Fernando. Fernando wants to be a rapper and he break dances. And I'm the dude from the Bronx, so he wants to be friends with me. Turns out Fernando is a really cool kid and he wants to come to New York. Turns out that his father happens to be, at that point, a Mexican. Now they're Mexican. And the school I went to in Arizona just wasn't in Arizona because there's Phoenix, there's Tucson, I went to Cochise County, Arizona. I was on a border town. I was on a border town called Agua Puerta, Mexico. And the town I was in was called Cochise. If you know the area over there, or if you want to have any historic significance, it's down the street from Tombstone. Where like the Doc Holliday and them. Yeah, so I went to a school like that. And went there for a year, met Fernando, and played ball. And the ball was really tough. We were really good. Met Fernando. Turns out Fernando's dad happens to own a tunnel. Anyhow, that was really interesting. And what ended up happening, I ended up taking Fernando to New York, introducing him to some people out there, and he went on to, go about his music career and stuff. And then by that time, my year was done out there. So I did 2 years. I got my associates at that point in business administration and finance. And then I ended up finishing school in Pittsburgh. Went to Pitt. I went to LaRoche College. My D1 basketball life was over. So I was just finishing up because I didn't want to play anymore. I was just talented and good and just wanted to get out the Bronx and see what's next. And did that. And I was in Pittsburgh, and then I decided to get graduated with finance degree, and I got my Series 7 license, and I started to trade stocks. I became a stockbroker. I sold insurance, and I built up a portfolio to about 81 million with a bunch of athletes and high executive level management jobs out there. Some executives in Pittsburgh, and a lot of the athletes that knew me from basketball and just because I was around. So that was rocking, and that took me all the way through Y2K. And at that point, I was over it. And I'd say over it. I just wanted to understand money. I didn't really want to manage other people's money. So I sold my practice and took off and went back to school, went back to Pitt, studied some entertainment, started a project called Pitt in Hollywood, where I worked with one of my mentors. His name was Carl Kurlander. He was the writer of The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, all those Brat Pack movies. He was the writer for. So he happened to be from Pittsburgh. But also, who's from Pittsburgh? One of my good friends, Jeff Goldblum. Also, one of my acting teachers, my acting coaches. So after that year in Pittsburgh, we started a group called Pitt in Hollywood. And that was supposed to connect Pittsburgh with Hollywood because there happened to be quite a big kind of connection. A lot of executives were from Pittsburgh, so I ended up being the first kid from that group who was taken out to Hollywood, and that was fun. And I went to LA, stayed there a good 3 years before I came back to come work for my family in Jamaica. We have a piece of property out there. It's about 800 hectares, and it has a whole big limestone deposit underneath it. So we had used the limestone to build the North Coast Highway of Jamaica. But then me and my cousin were coming under control of it, and we wanted to build out a resort. And so then I moved into development building, urban planning, hotel development, resort development mostly, and was doing that with my family for about 5 years until we had we kind of split ways. You know, me and my cousin didn't necessarily see eye to eye. I wanted to go one route, he wanted to go another, and we chose to split, you know, and I went on to go find my fortunes and figure my life out, because up until that point, I felt I was still running off of fumes and energy from, you know, so much. And I didn't really have my own space yet. I didn't really have my own life full out yet. So I left my family. I remember how I described my family. So there's no I just leave you with everything and go. So I left with nothing at all. Zero, zilch, nothing. I was destitute. I was broke. And the thing is, I had, you know, we invested a lot of money and lost a lot of money. We lost ultimately about $6 million. And, but got a lot of knowledge out of it. Really, we did. Really, we did. And we still own the land, so there's always stuff that could be done. But I find at that point, I wanted to do something with my life. And I didn't know what to do, so I just was going to go right back to what I was doing before I came back to do business with my family. And that was go back into entertainment. So I go to Utah, the Sundance Film Festival, and book I think 3 projects. One of them was a war project that had Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn attached to it. And they were filming in the Caribbean. And I went out and auditioned and read for the part, and I got it. So they wanted me now to be close by because I'm gonna have to shoot promo and all of this type of stuff and blah, 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 blah. Because they were still raising money, this production company. Again, you know, I don't even know why I keep liking to pick people that still need to raise money. That seems like a friggin' damn, man, that right there definitely shows you I don't pick with my pocket. I pick with my heart. which sounds funny from somebody with a Series 7 who had come up in finance. So that's why I probably got out of it. But I definitely learned that as much as you want to be in at the beginning and help and stuff, you need money to make things happen. So, but they got me down to Miami. And while this was going on, I started to see things coming a little bit unraveled. Things starting to come a little bit unraveled. And at that point, I wanted to get some sort of legitimacy to my life. So I have a real friggin' decision to make. Do I keep going down that road, or do I try to get serious with my life? And I chose the idea of getting serious with my life and connected with a woman in Miami, and was like, okay, I want to be with you. I don't want anybody else. Let's do this. And we did. And I tell you this, so straight 2 years, it was 3 years we were together, and it was definitely a movie, but I wouldn't trade that in for anything. And she definitely, helped me level up, transform myself. And I'll always, be in debt to her for that, for just being there with me. And not to say I probably wouldn't have leveled up, but she came in at a really good time. And I did 3 years in Miami. Then after that, I was out there in Miami, like loving life. And the thing was this: I was never necessarily really rushing to get married. I just wanted the commitment. So she and I, we break up. And I'm sitting around and I'm like, okay, what do I do next with my life? Because at this point, I'm a personal trainer on South Beach. I'm running around about 7% body fat. I was about more like 7% body fat. At my lowest, I was about 4.7% body fat. And because I was vegan and training as a CrossFit athlete, because like, vegan or not, I come from the warrior class. I'm a silverback. You know what I mean? So I'm looking. They're looking at me like, "Dang, this guy's phenomenal." But I don't necessarily want to really get too caught up in all the CrossFit community. I like it, but again, I'm not really a follower of like communities and stuff. I like building my own stuff, and hacking communities, and picking the best people out of it and offer it. But I was also a really quality trainer. I focused on result-based training. So that means we put you in a system. So you were in a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, or at most, it was 150-day. So, and then out of here. Because, again, I love people. I don't like people, right? So it's easy for me to kick people out. I'm like, get away from me. Because I like to deal with people hard. And if it's not a real connection, then it don't really matter to me, man. You know what I'm saying? So I just tell people to move on. So yeah, man, we're out there doing it, and South Beach was so great, but I needed to see my brother. I hadn't seen my brother in in really 5 years. My brother got married, and I objected at the wedding. Yes. That's right. I objected at the wedding. Yes. We're gathered here to holy matrimony. Now, if anybody out there has a problem with this or has anything to say about this holy wedding, speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, yeah. So as their wedding stops and they turn around and look at me, I speak my piece. I let them know, like, look, bro, you don't have to get married, man. You could raise kids. You don't have to get forced into this thing. But and so I said my piece. She obviously wasn't inviting me over for Thanksgiving, so this is why, fast forward 5 years, me and my ex break up, and my brother's playing basketball in Lebanon. He's playing basketball in Beirut, Lebanon. And I'm in Miami, and I'm just like, well, that's where you're at? And he's like, yeah. And I just know wherever he's at, it must be a good party there. You know what I'm saying? So, hop on a plane for 3 weeks, take off to Beirut. And I'm like, whoa, it's chaos. But I'm kind of liking it because I see an H&M, a McDonald's, I see like Western stuff there because I didn't really know much about it. I just knew my brother was out there, so let me go check him. And my homie Lauren, shout out to Low Woods. So I went out there for 3 weeks, and remember, I'm looking like a friggin' billboard everywhere. And I roll up out there, they're still eating meat and bodybuilding. I'm on plant-based nutrition. I'm on functional fitness. I'm on a whole different wave. So within those 3 weeks, me stopping in there, I'm already starting to train these wealthy Syrian housewives. I got a studio, and I'm like, well, shit, I can live a life here. All right, cool. You know what? Me and my girl broke up. I still got my apartment, and I can still pay for it from here. I'm staying. Man, I end up staying in Beirut. I go for 3 weeks. I stay a whole year. Me and my brother catch up. I realize like he's a grown man. I'm a grown man. So there's a lot of things we have to learn about each other. And he stayed to play basketball. I stayed to create a life. Then he left, and then I stayed. And I stayed up 2 years. I had gone back stateside, packed up, and came back, and then went to Dubai afterwards. And that's when I started my co-pressed juice company with my partners, Hervé and Emma, and we started Wild and the Moon. And I got 4% of it. I was a sweat equity, so I'm running around Dubai. I'm the juice man. Woohoo! Everybody's like, "Who is this guy?" But I don't know him, but I love him. I mean, he's awesome. And and we did well. We did well. I was able to do 3-day juice cleanses with Dubai's Crown Prince, Faza. And that was kind of one of the big things that made us go. And because, Dubai, and I can tell you this, the beauty about Wild on the Moon, we changed the culture in Dubai. I know that for sure, for a fact. So I'm very proud of that. That was a win because as an entrepreneur, going through life, you try things. Certain things work, certain things don't. Certain things keep your attention, certain things don't. But Wild in the Moon is something I am really proud of. The recipes started out as things that we love at home. We're tasting them, we're figuring it out. I'm pulling from all of the cultural things that I know in Jamaica, the things that I grew up with, the things that my father, my grandfather, my mother, my grandmother, my aunties and them used to do. So we came with, Ital items. And we had an amazing chef, my homie Sati. And Emma is a straight tastemaker. And Wild in the Moon hit. So I was super happy. And then I did that for 2 years. Went to Bali, had my Eat, Love, Pray experience running into a goddess. And I don't use that word lightly. Serious goddess. I've never had anyone touch me like that. Touch me, like see through me. And it wasn't sexual. There was a lot of sexual energy, don't get that twisted. But I resisted being physical with her because I was getting downloads and it was just like, this is your teacher. This is like, and don't get it twisted. She was also very scared of me. I was a trigger for her. Just the embodiment and the smoothness and all of that of me was a trigger for her. So it was like, but it definitely she set me in motion for me to be the person that I am sitting here in front of you now. Somebody that can actually be an ally to women, more than a dominator, and I can still dominate most things, but just the mindset I was in at that point, she unraveled that, in a short period of time, 2 3 weeks. I mean, off of that, I'm still riding, and I've seen her twice since, but off of that first mission, I was riding high off of that. And what it ended up doing to me was showing me like what I wanted in life, showing me what was real. So I ended up going back to Dubai, packing up my villa, selling whatever I needed to sell, told my partners I was leaving, and went back to the States all in a week. Besides, my mother was suffering. She had a cancer tumor growing, and it spread, and she was going through chemo, and I hadn't seen my mother in years, so I came back to come be with her for a couple of months until it was that time. And on the tail ends of that was when I started to go to Puerto Rico, mainly because I had a cannabis business when I came back to the States. And just for reference, I missed all of Obama's second term. So I left, there was a black president, I came back to, and it's back to normal, right? So Trump is in office and weed is legal in places. And I'm like, wait, what? So I come back, and I get to work and create this couple of cannabis brands, and was involved in a couple of projects that were looking to do some big things. But and one of my partners, he happened to be Puerto Rican. So him being Puerto Rican started to kind of bring the Puerto Rico conversation in there, because he wanted to go down to Puerto Rico and get a license. I'm like, yeah, because my God has told me I need to go back to the Caribbean and grow food. Meditate, wear my sarongs, pray, drink good water, and wait. However, coming back to New York and dealing with that cancer thing, you could imagine how it just threw all my equilibrium off. My mother's sick, all the sickness that's in the hospital is like, and I'm like, get away, right? And we ended up connecting as partners. He told me, let's go to Puerto Rico to get this license. I take off because I just want to get to the Caribbean because it's cold in New York at this point. And my partner never comes to Puerto Rico. Never. I mean, to this day. And I've seen him a half dozen times at least. Maybe even more. And it's never been in Puerto Rico. It's either been in Miami, New York, or what, and it's just like, damn, man. I mean, but the thing about that is it led me to what I'm in now. So, yeah, man. So that's my journey to and how I got to Puerto Rico. I mean, yeah, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in that we could always go for a deep dive if y'all want to know something specific. But that is who I am. I'm a Jamaican kid from immigrant parents, born in New York City, raised in the South Bronx. A lover of hip hop, and everything that is hip hop. I'm a part of that. I have OG hip hop friends that are my dear friends who I do anything for. I have, OG crypto friends that are my dear friends. I have OG athlete friends that I've been. So I've been around. I mean, when you have this size and stature and have been a lifelong entrepreneur, and you come from good stock. Yeah, people are gonna know you. People are gonna open doors for you. People are going to do all sorts of things, But my thing was really just trying to really find my way, because growing into a family, you can't pick. You can't pick nor choose what that family is all about or what that family does. You can just roll with it, and I had to roll with it. But then once I was able to find my way, I'm like, I'm out. Let's figure this out. And that's where you find me at right now. I would like to think that I have it figured out, but it's always moving. I mean, I'm in a whole new business now and stuff than what I was back then. But nonetheless, I could not be any more happy about what we're doing, what I'm doing, what this is all about. The Art Mob is because we don't have control of our history. This is because the type of stories that we have out there are ours. They're unique. The type of value we have out there, it's ours. It's unique. Like these are the things that people want, But if we don't tell it, and if we don't leave it as proof of our existence, at least just minimally our existence, who is gonna remember you, man? Like, remember, you have a job in life. One big one broken down into 3 sections. Be happy, don't hurt anybody, and move the culture forward. Just move it forward, whatever you do. That means, we probably don't need any more basketball players. There's the really good ones. Just do something like important, just for you. Not important for the world, important just for you. Because we can't keep repeating, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's blah. But I can tell you this much. Web3, blockchain, crypto space, this is where we can take our stand. This is where it gets better. This is where it gets better. No doubt. 100%. And, I'm definitely getting away from all of this dairy or cream, because now I'm starting to feel like I'm phlegming up. Oh, green. Well, this is black tea. I need green tea. I'm a tea person, Jamaican. So that right there kind of summarizes who I am. I'm an evolved being. And this is kind of what we're about. So what I started as, and I'll tell you why it's Major Dream Williams. So during this time, I had a sister. Her name is Stephanie. My mother got remarried and had Stephanie, and Stephanie ended up 18. She got pregnant. She had a little girl, and then at 3, she then got pregnant again, and had a little boy. And my niece and nephew, their names are Dream and Major. Their last name is Weber, comes after their father. So at 3.5, Dream passed away. She died. Suddenly, she died. That hurt me. I was also, around that time, going through a very kind of really spiritual reckoning, identity reckoning, ownership reckoning. I was doing deep dives into what it meant to be a citizen of the United States. What was this? What was all of this stuff about? And I realized that being a citizen is being owned. So the idea of picking up sovereignty is by creating something that represents you, that you can answer to, but it's a legal entity. And it could be outside of you. So they can have George Michael back. That's the birth certificate stuff. But Major Dream Williams is who I dedicated the rest of my life to. My niece, Dream, and my nephew, Major. And I am very happy with the trajectory because even though Dream passed, she's still here with me. And Major now, jeez, that kid. Can't wait to see him. I just know this much. Nobody's gonna do anything for you if they don't know you and if they don't like you. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be likable to everybody or knowable to everybody. But those who do know me, they are going to like me. Anyhow, y'all, it's your boy, Major Dream Williams. This is the Art Mob Pod, where we build freedom strategies using NFTs, blockchain, the metaverse, the EVM, you know, the Ethereum virtual machine, and just really just building mindset. Because ultimately, these freedom strategies just don't revolve around tech. They just revolve around the way you see the world. So we go from the block to blockchain, yo. All right? Anyhow, until next time, deuces.